In the Marvel Cinematic Universe related media depicting the Black Panther, the language that was spoken, written, or read throughout the Wakandan Empire was that of Xhosa, as it's a pivotal aspect for depiction relating to Wakanda in the media. But the speculative scenario is this: just how important was the Xhosa language in the Black Panther films? In 2005, Marvel announced plans to depict a Black Panther film based off of the comic character, but in 2016, after years of stalled and delayed developments, Ryan Coogler was hired to be the director for the film. Despite his initial plans for the film, there were no real desires to have an African language as a key premise of Wakandan culture or identity. Civil War was the first example of the Xhosa language being spoken or depicted within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The individual now credited with incorporating the Xhosa language into the Marvel Cinematic Universe was actor John Kane, who portrayed King T'Chaka of Wakanda. Upon discussions between Kane with Coogler and even Chadwick Boseman, it was later decided to have the Xhosa language be the basis for the Wakandan language in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. John Kane was fluent in Xhosa and actually taught the basics and fundamentals of the language to Chadwick Boseman, who was receptive to the idea. Ryan Coogler was also considerate of the language as well, as from information now known, the both of them believed that having as much depictions of Xhosa in Black Panther would be better for the credibility or even originality of the movies. Since it was still relatively early in development of Civil War and Black Panther, aspects of the Xhosa language were easily incorporated into the media, as the transition for Xhosa would be spoken through the Black Panther media of the time were somewhat simple in terms of efforts. Lupita Nyong'o was of a Kenyan-based background. Danai Gurira was of a Zimbabwean-based background. Due to the both of them having experience with African languages, the authenticity of the Xhosa when spoken in the films of the time was a serious experience. Language coaches were brought in to teach details to other related actors and actresses to make sure words were pronounced properly and authentically. Upon the release of Civil War and more importantly Black Panther, international outlets remarked at the Xhosa language being adopted and used for the Marvel Studios media. It was later considered a pivotal decision to incorporate the language into the depiction of Wakandan culture, and it made the entire concept of Wakanda more believable because audiences had something to connect Wakanda with, something that they could hear Wakanda from, and arguably what Africa was and still is. African populations in the United States of America and Brazil, having more of an African diaspora, reported massive interest in the Xhosa language, or even any other African language in general. Despite the fact that the details for Xhosa being depicted for Wakanda had to be altered, changed, or improvised, it still made the depiction of African culture in the early era of the original Marvel Cinematic Universe remarkable and arguably unforgettable.